let's talk about Endgame.
Push me to the edge, all my friends are dead. Push me to the edge, all my friends are dead. Push me to the edge, all my friends are dead.
So I just watched Avengers Endgame and I have some thoughts and feelings. So I'm going to be talking about those. This video is just going to be some of my thoughts followed by a crackpot theory which could totally 100% happen, but probably won't, because if Endgame has taught me anything, it's that I don't really get what I want. This video is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen Endgame yet, then get out of here, you rascal! Go away, go watch the movie, and come back later when you can properly empathize with my pain. Okay, now that they're gone and it's just you and me, can I just say, what the fuck? Like, I loved the movie, obviously, but also I want to die? It was a lot. Okay, before I talk about this, I am gonna need a snack. What? It's comfort food. Oh, come on. We've all gained like 5 kilos since watching Endgame, right? That is a universal experience, right? Right? You know what? Let's just start the video. Tony Stark is dead and I'm real sad about it. Okay, so I think we all sort of knew that someone was gonna die. And I think we all sort of knew it was probably gonna be Tony Stark because Robert Downey Jr. is the longest serving actor in the MCU. And I think the way they ended his character arc was really great. I mean, for so long, Tony Stark has just been a mess, at least in his personal life. But in this movie, we finally get to see him get his shit together. Well, for 5 years anyway. We also got to see him mend his relationship with Captain America, although it took some doing. And in the end, he dies, saving the universe, surrounded by the people he loves. So, as deaths go, it's a pretty good one. But damn it, this character is important to me! Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark has had a big impact on my personality as an adult, and I'm not exaggerating. So I was never really into comic books as a kid, because growing up, the closest comic book shop was a 40-minute drive from my house. Also, my dad, who is the whole reason I'm a fucking nerd, was never really into comics. I grew up watching Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, any series with star in the name, I was watching that, but never comic books. But then, as I got older, a combination of the X-Men movies and the first Iron Man movie made me seek out comic books as an adult, and I really like them. Like a lot. So, thanks, Robert Downey Jr. Genuinely. So, yeah, Tony Stark being dead is a sad day for your girl. Speaking of sad yet satisfying deaths, Steve Rogers is dead and I'm real sad about it. Okay, so he's not dead, he's just old, but you know what I mean. Again, we have another really good end of a character arc here, okay? Him going back to be with Peggy was so sweet, and although I feel like he'd pretty much integrated with modern society by this point, I don't think he could have retired there. He could try to retire, but he'd probably just hear about some bullshit that's going on and get involved. He couldn't really do it. But back in the 40s, he could actually relax, especially with Peggy there, because she'd be able to chill him the fuck out whenever he needed that. And if he ever got worried about some crisis, he could always tell himself, it's not going to be the end of the world, because I was in the future, so I know that for a fact. But you know, Steve Rogers has been through a lot. That guy really needs a break, and he got one. But damn it, I'm still sad about it, okay? And they saved it till right at the end of the movie, so I thought he was gonna make it through and maybe we'd see Cap in a future movie, but then, nope, he's gone, he's back to the past. On a related note, I'm really glad they made Falcon the new Captain America. There was a lot of conjecture about whether it was gonna be Sam or Bucky, but Bucky pretty much seems like he's sick of fighting, reasonably. But Sam isn't sick of it yet, so I think it makes a lot more sense to make him Captain America. Also, Captain America's main contribution to the Avengers is as being a leader, because let's be honest, in a team with Thor and the Hulk, he's not really bringing muscles to the table, unless we're speaking aesthetically, in which case... But practically speaking, Captain America is supposed to be a leader. And as much as I like Bucky, you never see him giving orders. He's only ever taking orders. And I have a really hard time picturing him leading. Sam, on the other hand, I can see it. Now, on to my next point. Gamora is dead and I'm real sad about it. This is the last death, I promise, and then I'll talk about some other stuff. Also, I know this is technically an Infinity War death, but I was kind of holding out hope that she'd come back in this movie, but she didn't, so now I'm sad about it all over again. Oh, but Rachel, she did come back. Now we have Gamora from the past. No! That is a different person. This does not count. The Gamora we know and love is dead, and she's never coming back, and when you think of her story as a whole, that's extremely tragic. I would argue the most tragic death in the MCU. If you've forgotten her story, let me sum it up real quick. Little green baby Gamora is living on a planet that's not doing so great, and then gets worse when Thanos fucks it up. Thanos adopts her and trains her to be a warrior. And when I say train, I mean brainwash, emotionally traumatize her by pitting her against her sister, and deprive her of any kind of childhood. Ever wonder why she acts so weird in the first Guardians movie? It's because she doesn't know how to talk to people who aren't her father or one of his subordinates. But eventually she breaks away from all this. She leaves her father and makes some new friends, people she can trust. She makes a family for herself. She learns to enjoy life and even falls in love. She goes from this...
I'm a warrior and an assassin. I do not dance.
...to this. And just as she's finally starting to find some happiness, she gets re-kidnapped by Thanos and brutally murdered. But not before one last dose of, I love you, daughter, which, no, I don't care what the Soul Stone says. If you're torturing someone, you do not love them, seek help. So yeah, of all the deaths, this one hit me the hardest. Which doesn't mean to say I thought it was bad. It didn't make the movie bad. It just makes me add extra whipped cream to my milkshake because fuck you, you stupid purple bastard. Okay, so now that we've talked about death for a while, let's look at some positives. They gave Valkyrie a Pegasus and I love it. It's good to know some of the Pegasus population survived the destruction of Asgard. My inner wildlife conservationist is very pleased. Hawkeye definitely named his daughter Violet because his favourite colour is purple. When Fat Thor was revealed, the middle-aged women in the row behind me were audibly disappointed. And I just wanted to share that with you. Captain Marvel was a little underused, but I'm alright with it. She's pretty OP, you can't really overuse a powerful character like that. Oh, hi Carol. Where have you been this whole time? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think your planet was the centre of the universe? You know, this isn't DC. We don't have a Green Lantern Corps to take care of all the space problems. It's literally just me and a raccoon. Scott and Cassie's reunion was beautiful, and I cried. Also, with Cassie a lot older now, are we gonna get Young Avengers? Please? Also, the whole 5 years later thing was unexpected, and I loved it. It was so cool to see how all the characters dealt with the situation before they figured out how to fix it. Speaking of fixing it, I'm so glad this wasn't just a case of fighting Thanos to get the stones back, because that would have been a much shorter and less interesting movie. The wild romp through time was not only a more interesting plot, but also served as like a really good build-up for the final battle scene. It felt like a great payoff rather than just, this is what we're doing to get the stones back. Yay. Speaking of the battle scene, that shot. The shot, you know the one where they cram every single female character from all the movies into one shot and they look menacing and wonderful. Look, I know it was unnecessary and gratuitous and probably a little impractical in the context of the battle, but you know what? It made me happy. And I deserve to be happy, okay? I've earned it. Also, what is a superhero movie if it's not just a series of snappy one-liners and gratuitous shots? Did we really need this shot? Or this one? Or even this one? glad they exist. Okay, now that you've sat through all of my ramblings, let me tell you about my crackpot theory. Let me tell you about how the MCU has just set itself up perfectly for a Marvel Ultimates universe. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me bring you up to speed real quick. The Ultimates universe is an alternate universe to the main Marvel Comics canon. There have been several different iterations, and they basically exist as a playground for writers who want to road test weird ideas that are a bit too risky for the main Marvel canon. And it's given us great gems, such as bad guy Reed Richards with a really big head. Also, Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. Fucking, for some reason. Take that, Game of Thrones! Marvel was doing to incest before it was cool. Yay! Anyway, we know the minds behind the MCU are aware of the Ultimate Universe because they've already been borrowing some of its cooler ideas. It's the reason we have a Black Nick Fury and Thor wielding an axe instead of a hammer. We also know that the time travel shenanigans of Endgame definitely created an alternate universe, thanks to the Hulk's little chat with the Ancient One. Actually, it's probably created several, but for the sake of this discussion, let's just think of it as one. Now, returning the stones to the exact point they were taken is supposed to stop this splintering off of parallel universes, but guess what? It won't. It just won't. Because they've already changed too much. Cap might have taken the stones back, sure, but he can't just undisappear Loki. He can't just undo saying Hail Hydra to that one guy in the elevator. Bringing the stones back does not stop the creation of parallel universes. It just means they have the stones back. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, Rachel, that's a bit outlandish. They're not going to do a whole spin-off universe. That's too unbelievable. And to that I say, did you watch the movie? Like, there was time travel in it, guys. And like, aliens and wizards and stuff. But sure, let's draw the line at the multiverse theory. Why not? But what interests me is the potential plot lines that they've already set up in the events of Endgame. Now there's the obvious, Loki's escape, which could end up being the basis for the Disney Plus series he's getting. It is also the basis of my unending joy because I was devastated when he died in Infinity War. We also have the issue of Loki's scepter. Now in the MCU, that thing basically ends up with Hydra right after the Battle of New York. But do you really think Cap's gonna bring it back and just hand it to Hydra? Debatable. But for argument's sake, let's say he doesn't. Without Hydra having an Infinity Stone, we don't get Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver at all. Which is sad, because we don't get this. But also good, because we don't have Quicksilver dying stupidly. Also, while swiping the scepter, Cap pretends to be part of Hydra, which, apart from being ingenious, could really screw things up for Hydra. If they think Cap's on their side, they could end up overplaying their hand and revealing some information they really shouldn't have. They might end up revealing themselves way before the events of Winter Soldier. Now, the other interesting deviation is the one in Asgard, and I'm not talking about the Ether. I'm talking about Mjolnir. When Thor goes back in time, he gets his hammer back from his past self. Which is all fine and dandy for Thick Boy, but what about Skinny Thor? He's in the middle of the events of Thor the Dark World. He's taken Jane to Asgard because she's not feeling well, dealing with that whole mess, and suddenly his hammer up and vanishes. For no reason. You think he's just gonna let that slide? I think the fuck not. Now obviously Captain America brings the hammer back, but don't you think Thor's gonna wonder why it disappeared at all? Or why Captain America can suddenly lift his hammer? It's definitely gonna have an impact of some kind, is what I'm saying. So we have a lot of potential for a very interesting alternate universe. Now, are we gonna get it? Probably not. But if you'd asked me if there was gonna be a time travel plot in the MCU 5 years ago, I would have given you the same answer. So you never know. Well, that's about all I have to say about the MCU for now. If you like this video, consider subscribing, because every time someone subscribes to this channel, an alternate universe opens up in which I'm a superhero and I'm dating Steve Rogers. Or possibly Doctor Strange. The Winter Soldier, I'm not picky. Thank you so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.